You're sitting in the back of a black Escalade on the FDR Drive when your phone buzzes, and the name on the screen is your attorney, Richard Koval, and he never calls before 9 a.m. unless something is wrong. You answer. He says 2 words. It's out. You don't ask what. You already know. You've been waiting for this call for 11 years. The Miami Herald piece is long, detailed. Names, dates, addresses, victims. You read it on your phone in the back seat, while your driver, a man named Tomas, who's worked for you for 6 years and knows nothing about anything, navigates traffic toward your office on Park Avenue. Your face doesn't change. You've trained yourself for this. You scroll through the article and you count, not the victims, not the allegations. You count how many times your name appears. 0. For now, 0. You call Koval back. He says come to his office. You say no, your office. Use the service entrance. You are already managing this. You have been managing this in a quiet, invisible way since 2008, since the first plea deal, since you realized that a man you'd spent weekends with, traveled with, dined with, introduced to your business partners, was going to become the most scrutinized name in the country. You started managing it the day you asked your assistant to go through 11 years of emails and archive everything connected to that name. Archive. Not delete. You're not stupid. Deleting is what amateurs do. Archiving moves it off the main server, buries it in a backup system that would take a subpoena and 3 months of forensic work to access. You had your IT director, a man named Prashant, handle it personally. You paid him a $40,000 retention bonus that year and never explained why. Koval arrives at 10:15. He's wearing a $4,000 suit and carrying a leather portfolio that probably contains a legal pad with your name on it and a billing rate of $100 or $800 an hour. He sits across from you and he lays it out. The article is Phase 1. Phase 2 is federal investigators reopening the case. Phase 3 is subpoenas, flight logs, financial records, and the contact book. He says, contact book, and your stomach drops 2 inches because you know your name is in that book. You know because you saw it once years ago on a desk in the townhouse on East 71st Street, open to a page that had your name and your private cell number, and the words Gray Stone Cap, J.E. Intro to Waleed, in blue ink. You remember the handwriting. You remember the desk. You remember walking past it and feeling nothing because, at the time, it meant nothing. It was just business. It was always just business. Koval asks you to describe your relationship. You say what you've rehearsed in your head for over a decade. You met him at a dinner in 2002. You attended perhaps 4 or 5 social events over the years. He facilitated an introduction to a sovereign wealth contact that resulted in a significant allocation to your fund. The relationship was professional and limited. You had no knowledge of any criminal activity. Koval writes this down. He doesn't look up. He doesn't ask if it's true. He knows his job is not to determine truth. His job is to build a wall between you and the truth, and to make sure that wall is load-bearing. But you know the truth. The truth is that you visited that townhouse at least 30 times. The truth is that you flew on his plane twice, once to Palm Beach, once to the island. The truth is that you attended a dinner in 2005 where a girl who could not have been older than 16 served drinks and sat on the arm of a couch next to a man who ran a media company, and nobody said a word. The truth is that you saw this, and you did not leave. You did not call anyone. You went home, and you slept, and you woke up, and you checked your portfolio, and the markets were up, and the sun came through the windows of your apartment on Central Park West, and the world continued as though nothing had happened, because for you, nothing had happened. Things only happen when you decide they happened. That's the privilege. That's what the money buys. Not things. Versions of events. The first thing you do is call your publicist, a woman named Meredith Tran. She runs a boutique crisis communications firm out of Tribeca. Her clients include a pharmaceutical CEO who survived a pricing scandal, a tech founder who survived a harassment lawsuit, and a congressman who survived photographs. She is very good at making things not exist. You tell her the situation. She doesn't flinch. She says the playbook is straightforward. Preemptive distancing, strategic visibility, charitable positioning. She says you need to be seen at the right events, supporting the right causes, standing next to your wife. She says the word wife like it's a prop, which it is. You pay Meredith a $250,000 annual retainer, and right now, it feels like a bargain. That weekend, you go through your apartment. Not the Greenwich house, the apartment. The one on Central Park West. The one where you actually live your life. You open a closet in the study. There's a box. Inside the box are photographs from events you attended between 2002 and 2007. You flip through them. There you are at a dinner at the townhouse. There you are on a terrace in Palm Beach. There you are on a boat, tanned, smiling, holding a glass, and 3 feet behind you, slightly out of focus, is a face you recognize from the article. A victim. She was 17 in this photograph. You were 41. You are standing in the same frame as a 17-year-old girl at the home of a man who trafficked 17-year-old girls, and you are smiling. You take the box to the fireplace. You burn the photographs one by one. The smoke alarm goes off. You disable it. Your hands smell like ash. You wash them twice with dish soap, and then once more with the hand soap from the guest bathroom. You throw the empty box into the recycling, and then you take the recycling to the trash room yourself because you don't want the housekeeper to see an empty box she doesn't recognize. 3 weeks later, you get a call from a reporter at the New York Times. She's polite. She says she's working on a story about the social network around the case. She asks if you'd be willing to comment on your relationship with the accused. Koval has prepared you for this. You say, "I met him briefly at a few social functions over a decade ago. Like many people in New York, I was in his orbit without understanding what was behind it. I'm horrified by what I've learned, and my heart goes out to the victims." You deliver this like you're reading a weather report. The reporter asks a follow-up. She asks if you ever visited the residence in Palm Beach. You say no. This is a lie. You say it without pausing, without inflection, without any of the physical markers that people associate with lying, because you've been saying this version of events for so long that it has calcified into something your body treats as fact. Your pulse doesn't change. Your voice doesn't waver. The lie has become load-bearing. If you remove it, everything above it collapses. You Google yourself. You do this every day now, sometimes 3 times a day. You've set up alerts. You've hired a digital reputation firm, a company called ClearPoint, that charges $15,000 a month to monitor mentions, suppress negative search results, and push favorable content to the top of the algorithm. They create articles, soft features. Philanthropist pledges $5 million to Girls' Education Initiative. Finance leader joins board of anti-trafficking nonprofit. You read these articles about yourself, and they describe a person who does not exist, but who needs to exist, because the person who does exist was on a terrace in Palm Beach watching a girl who couldn't vote pour champagne into a crystal flute. The indictment comes. Then the arrest. Then the perp walk. You watch it on CNN in your office with the door closed. Your hands are not shaking. You will not allow your hands to shake. You pour a glass of water from the pitcher your assistant keeps on the credenza, and you drink it slowly, and you watch the footage, and you feel something that you refuse to name, because naming it would require acknowledging that it exists. Relief. You feel relief. Because he's the one in handcuffs, not you. The system has identified its target, and it isn't you and every mechanism you've built. The archived emails, the burned photographs, the rehearsed statements, the reputation firm, the 1-800 an hour attorney, the publicist, the charitable donations, all of it worked. The wall held, the contact book leaks. Page 47. Your name, your number, the notation about Greystone Capital. Twitter finds it within hours. Your Wikipedia page is edited before lunch. Your daughter, who is 15 and has a phone and exists in the world the way 15-year-olds exist in the world, calls you from school. She's crying. She says someone sent her a screenshot. She says, "Dad, why is your name in that book?" You tell her what you've told everyone. You tell her you barely knew him. You tell her it was business. You tell her the world is complicated, and people's names end up in places that don't mean what they look like they mean. You tell your 15-year-old daughter a version of events that you have constructed specifically to survive contact with exactly this moment. And she believes you because she's 15 and she loves you. And the alternative is something she can't metabolize. Your wife does not believe you. Allison is not 15. Allison is a corporate attorney who has deposed people for a living, and she knows what a rehearsed answer sounds like, and she has known something was wrong since 2006, when you came home from the Virgin Islands and changed your phone number and couldn't explain why. She doesn't confront you. That's not how Allison operates. She retains her own attorney. She moves $2.3 million from a joint account into a trust she controls. She starts sleeping in the guest room. She does all of this quietly, efficiently, the way you taught her by example. Manage the situation, control the narrative, protect the assets. You hire a second attorney, a woman named Carla Vasquez, who specializes in congressional investigations, because there are rumblings about a select committee. You hire a private investigator to find out what the FBI has. You spend $380,000 in legal fees in 4 months. You donate $2 million to a victims advocacy fund, and you make sure the donation is public, and you make sure the press release mentions your long-standing commitment to protecting vulnerable communities. And you read that phrase, and you almost laugh because it's so perfectly, architecturally false that it has a kind of beauty to it, like a building with no foundation that somehow stays standing through sheer audacity. He dies. They say it's suicide. The call comes at 6 a.m. on a Saturday. Colville again. You sit on the edge of your bed, and you listen, and your first thought, the very first thing that crosses your mind, is not about a man who is dead. It is this: the trial is gone. The witness stand is gone. The possibility that your name would be spoken in open court by a prosecutor holding a contact book is gone. You hang up and you sit in the dark for 11 minutes. You know it's 11 minutes because you watch the clock on your nightstand. You are waiting for the appropriate feeling to arrive. Grief, shock, something. But what arrives instead is a loosening in your chest, like a knot untying itself. And you understand that this feeling is the most honest thing you've experienced in 17 years. You go downstairs, you make coffee, you read the news on your phone, you watch the conspiracy theories ignite in real time, and you feel something adjacent to gratitude because the conspiracies serve you. They turn the story into noise, and noise is cover, and cover is what you need. The more people argue about cameras and guards and broken bones, the less they ask about page 47, the less they ask about you. Months pass. The algorithms move on. Your fund recovers. You lose one board seat, a hospital in Connecticut. But you gain another at a university that needs your endowment more than it needs your absence. The math of reputation is simple. Enough money restores anything. You commission a profile in a business magazine. The journalist describes you as a private figure who lets his philanthropy speak for itself. You read this sentence and you think about a box of photographs turning to ash in a fireplace and a girl in the background of a picture that no longer exists. You are at a charity gala at the Javits Center, a benefit for arts education. You're wearing a Tom Ford tuxedo. Allison is beside you in Oscar de la Renta. She came back to the master bedroom 2 months ago. Not because she believes you, because the alternative is $8.2 million in Greenwich and a custody fight that would put every deposition answer in a public filing. She made the calculation. You both did. A woman approaches, mid-40s, blonde, expensive dress. She introduces herself. She says she runs a foundation. She says she'd love to connect you with some people who are doing incredible work in impact investing. She says she heard your name from a mutual friend. She says this mutual friend is someone you've never heard of, but when she describes him, finance background, extensive network, a real connector, something in your chest tightens. You smile. You take her card. You say you'd love to learn more. You go home that night, and you sit in the dark in your study, and you hold the card, and you think about a dinner 17 years ago at a townhouse on East 71st Street, where a man handed you a white card with just a name and a number, and you called because you wanted the ceiling to disappear. And it did. The ceiling disappeared, and what was above it was not sky. It was a higher room with a different ceiling and different things you'd have to decide not to see. You put the card in your desk drawer. You close the drawer. You pour a scotch. You don't think about it. Somewhere in this city, right now, there is a 28-year-old fund manager at a dinner he was not expecting to be invited to. The wine is expensive. The conversation is electric. The people in the room control things he's only read about. Someone is handing him a card. He's doing what you did. He's calculating. He's seeing the future he wants and not seeing the cost, because the cost is kept in a room that hasn't been built yet. He'll build it later. One decision at a time. He'll call in 3 days.